So market equilibrium refer to a state in the market where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. Means we were discussing about market equilibrium, and before that we were discussing about suppose Qx or Q and this side is Px, and in case of demand you got a negatively sloped demand curve, suppose D dash, and in case of supply you got a positively sloped supply curve. Now here market equilibrium would refer to a state in the market where quantity demanded will be equal to quantity supplied. Means here in this case, at this particular price or quantity, suppose P1 and this is suppose Q1, at this price quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied, or at this particular quantity whatever is demand is equal to, at this particular level of quantity, demand and supply, you are getting an equilibrium price. This price is called equilibrium price, and this quantity is called equilibrium quantity, where demand is equal to supply. Okay, so market equilibrium refer to a state in the market where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. Now, depending upon shift of your demand curve or shift of your supply curve, equilibrium position also may vary or it may shift. This is one. Second issue is that I am going to discuss what is happening, and second is please remember that we are discussing right now market equilibrium, not consumers equilibrium. Students usually make mistake. Sometimes I am asking them to discuss about. Yes, please. Any problem in hearing as well as seeing the file?
No, sir.
Okay. So sometimes students, what they are doing it, I am asking them to discuss consumers equilibrium, they are writing market equilibrium. So be careful. I am telling it beforehand. So here, suppose someone asks you to decide about equilibrium price. So very easily, suppose an equation is suppose Qx equal to say 150 minus suppose 5px, and this is your demand A minus bpx, something like that, and suppose for supply equation is suppose 10px, suppose. So at equilibrium price, demand is equal to supply. You can write it QD also, this one you can write QS also, quantity supplied, quantity demanded. It's up to you. So at equilibrium 150 minus 5px equal to 10px. So ultimately px will be 15px divided by, this is px will be 10 ultimately. 10, is it okay? 15, 150 divided by 15, it will be 10. Okay, so price in this case, equilibrium price value is 10, and what will be that equilibrium quantity? Anywhere you put it, that value, whether it is here, say 10 into 5, 50, 150 minus 50, 100, and you supplied also 10 into 10, 100. So this is equal to 100, and this is equal to say 10. So this is that equilibrium price and equilibrium quantity. Very easily you can find it out. Okay, in that way you can do it. But when we talked about shift, or when you discuss about market equilibrium under two different situations. One is your static economy, equilibrium under static economy we usually discuss. Okay, static condition. Because there are the two different kind of economy you may find it, or two different kind of condition you may find it in market. One, you remember, one is very, very short run we discussed. When we talked about short run, what is happening? Most of these, almost all of these parameters are constant, almost all of these parameters. Because right now you are analyzing, suppose market demand. Then right now, your income, your taste and preference. Within 1 second, your income may not change. Within 1 second, your taste and preference may not change. Okay, within 1 second, maybe your number of organization in a country may not change. Nature, your total employment in a country may not change within a second or within a minute. Okay, so it may happen in that way. So these are called your static condition or static economy. So equilibrium, we discuss it under equilibrium, under say static condition or static economy. Indirectly, indirectly here, almost everything is standstill. Almost everything. So here you will find. Then another situation is dynamic. Dynamic means suppose you are considering long run, suppose 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. Then what is happening? All these parameters may vary. Means time period is little bit long. So accordingly to different conditions you are getting it. In one where you are considering very short period and most of your parameters are fixed, constant. And another is where most of these parameters are changing each and every time. So here, an equilibrium under static condition, you will find 3 different kind of equilibrium. One is your stable equilibrium. Stable equilibrium. Under say static condition. So what is happening here? Suppose this is your demand and supply. Okay. This is your supply. Then suppose initially equilibrium price is suppose here P3. Suppose price increase because of some factor. It's a very short time period. Price increase. Suppose price become P4. At higher price, what will happen? Demand will be represented by demand curve. Demand will immediately decrease. Suppose related to this demand was Q3. At higher price, immediately demand decrease. Demand come back here. Demand will be represented by demand curve. But at higher price, you will try to supply more. So supply will move to P4. So this is Q2. Supply will move to Q4. Because at higher price, you will try to supply will be represented by supply curve. When price increase, immediately demand decrease to Q2, but supply will try to, supplier or those producer will try to supply more at higher price. I assume that it is happening in a short period, so cost of production and other things are at certain level. But as a supplier, when market price is more, I will try to supply more. So immediately he try to supply more. So when in market, what happened? Demand is OQ2, supply is OQ4. There is surplus supply. This portion represents surplus supply. When surplus supply is there, what will happen? Unsold stock is there in market. Oversupply. Then what will happen in market? Price will come down immediately. Because surplus supply, you go to market and see our vegetable market. Because behind the scene of such kind of discussion, we assume that you cannot store the product for long period, or you do not have a warehouse or cold storage very nearby, and so and so. Whatever you bring into market, your intention is to sell it out, everything. Okay, immediately. That is your intention. So when market is oversupplied, price usually decrease. You go to market and see our vegetable market. Sometimes some certain products are oversupplied. On that day, you will find prices coming down. So immediately, because of that, it is called stable equilibrium under static condition. Because initially price may go up, but when there is a oversupply, immediately price will come down. Then it become again stable. Because of that, it is called stable equilibrium under static condition. Very quickly, this is happening. Second is unstable equilibrium. I am quickly proceeding, little bit fast. Under static conditions, suppose. unstable equilibrium under static condition. Okay. So what is happening here? Unstable equilibrium under static condition. Here I am, this is an exceptional case, you can say. It is not happening because you see, you probably observed that I am drawing a supply curve negatively slope. I am drawing a supply curve which is negatively slope. Initial equilibrium here is suppose this is your P3 and this is your Q3, P3 and Q3. Okay. P3 and Q3. Okay. Now, what is happening? Okay, before let me go through our discussion better before going to discuss about equilibrium. Now you tell me quickly if you like to guess or if you like to respond. You can tell me when your supply curve may be negatively slow, or maybe some examples. The situation here is like that. You are when price is more, you are producing on and supplying something, might be, or you are supplying maybe something to market, maybe. That when price is more, you are supplying less. When price is less, you are supplying more. Please remember, this size kind of situation may happen only in exceptional case. Okay, negatively sloped supply curve may be possible only in exceptional case. When price is more, you are supplying less. When price is less, you are supplying more. Because cost of production and other things might be, you are assuming that it is more or less same. No difference. Okay. This is happening. Now, in that case, can you tell me when your supply curve may be negatively slow? Some example maybe when you are doing such kind of activities as a supplier, as a producer, or as a supplier maybe of some product or service or maybe anything maybe. Can you guess?
Sir, if we any competition, only one company is there.
If we
Do not have any other competition, only one company producing that.
Only one commodity is producing, then what will happen? See, I am a producer. Think about it in that way. Suppose I am a producer, I am producing something, okay, and I am supplying it into market. Now suppose market price of that product is more. Will I not try to supply more because my cost of production no change? So will I not try to supply more into that market to make more profit?
Yes.
And other way I am telling you, when price is less, you are supplying more. So you are a monopolist, suppose. When price is more, price is less, will you try to supply more? At least you will reduce your price decrease, you will try to reduce your supply because you are the monopolist. You always like to have a higher price because you are the only supplier or only producer. When price is less, you are supplying more in this case. So that will not be applicable. And second is, any producer, if they are getting a reasonable price, or when price is more, they try to supply more because as quickly as possible, they try to recover their money invested in that business. No producer think in this way that, okay, I will store my product for quite some time. Then after that, what will happen? That my product price will go up and I will make more money after 2 years. Thinking that one, no producer prefer to keep their product in warehouse unless it is an exceptional case. Why? Because they always try to recover their money invested as quickly as possible. Because that money they are recovering are reinvesting in business and further expanding it. So this is a general principle of business. Okay. And there is also involved your risk and uncertainty. Where is that guarantee that after 2 years price will go up? There is some cost also involved. There is cost involved of storing. There is a cost involved which is called opportunity cost of storing. Might be you are occupying that space. If you do not store that particular product in your store, if you store some other product, might be you will generate some extra money that you are sacrificing because you are storing this already old product. This is expressed in opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is a very good concept, very important concept in economics. Later on, again, I will discuss while discussing cost. And in different contexts, it may be used. This is the return from your next best alternative you sacrifice because of your present activity. The general meaning is like that. Anyway, I'm not going to that discussion right now. And in general also, even in monopoly, normal demand curve is negatively sloped. At higher price, demand is less. At lower price, demand is more. Even in monopoly also. I do not want to discuss right now about why, because it will be endless, and rather I will discuss Professor Naik's portion more and more. Rather, let it be here. You will understand when he will discuss it in market about different market. Now let me quickly, if you like to respond quickly, other example or maybe. As I said, this is an exceptional case. Anyone like to respond? No? Okay. You mute your system. Someone is again, I'll keep your system unmute. If you want to ask me anything, you can. So let's see that example. Can you hear me as well as can you see the writing where I am doing it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I am giving you an example, two examples rather. Maybe in other section already I give it this example because in one section already I made considerable progress. Say for example here, think about a farmer in a rural area or maybe in a semi-urban area or whatever it is. A farmer is there. He produced 10 tons of rice. Out of these 6 tons already he sold out. 4 tons is there in his 4 tons of rice is there in his warehouse, and for his family consumption, for whole year family consumption, 4 tons of rice is there. Now he faced some medical emergency or some emergency. It may be because of any reason, and he is not getting that money from anyone, from anybody. He is not getting that money. Okay, he is not getting that money from anybody. Okay, he is not getting that money from anybody, from his relatives or maybe from other people. So only one option is left up to him, that is selling some portion out of these 4 tons, selling some portion of rice in open market. But he is very much aware that if I sell some portion, then tomorrow at much higher price, I have to purchase the same quantity of rice for my family consumption after some time. Because there is a difference in buying and selling rate. You know it even in foreign exchange or in currency also, you know, buying rate and selling rate, different rate. Even in market also you will find. That difference is because of your commissions enjoyed by different middlemen or commission agents. Different stakeholder, they are doing it, they are enjoying it, because unless before it is reaching to consumer, ultimately price increased by manifold, and that price is mostly because of commission of different, say, your middleman, you can say, or maybe commission agent or different stakeholder, you can say, involved in that market channel, you can say. So in this case, what is happening? Say, if say he requires suppose 10,000. So 10,000 to recover 10,000 means to arrange 10,000 rupee, suppose. He is selling say 1 ton of rice out of 4 tons. Suppose market price of rice is 10 rupee. So 10 rupee 10 multiplied by 1,000, that is equal to 10,000. So 10,000 will be his immediate requirement for medical emergency, say. So 1 ton he sold out in market. Okay. But if market price is not 10 rupee, it is suppose 20 rupee. He will sell when it is market price is 10 rupee per kg, he sold out 1 ton. But when it is 20 rupee per ton, then he will sold only 500 kg. If it is 20 rupee, 20 into 500, 10,000, he will get in that way. Okay. If it is 50 rupee, his selling might be only 200 kg. Something like that, in that way. So it is what is happening. If price is increasing, in this case, price is increasing. If price increase gradually 10, 20, 50, he is selling less and this is 1 ton means 1,000 kg. He is selling less and less. And if price is less and less, price is decreasing, he is selling more and more because he need to recover this 10,000 rupee, or he need to arrange it 10,000 rupee. So this is an exception to his supply behavior. Means when price is more, he is selling less or he is supplying less into that market. When price is less, he is selling more. This is suppose 1,000 kg. Suppose instead of 1 ton, you can write 1,000 kg also, whatever. So in this case, you will get a negatively, maybe for a short period, but you may get a negatively slope supply curve. Sometimes, suppose it may happen to a, suppose I am a labor, because of my medical or health condition might be, or maybe because of my nature, I prefer leisure over work. I prefer leisure over work. Okay. So in this case, what is happening? I am preferring leisure over work. Right now, or it may happen, might be because of my nature, it may happen because of my health condition, or maybe by I am having some medical problem, suppose. Because of that, I find it difficult to work. But somehow right now I am working for 8 hours. Somehow I am working 8 hours because in 8 hours I am earning, say, 400 rupees. 8 hours I am working daily, suppose now, 8 hours. And I am earning per hour at the rate of 50 rupees per hour. So I am earning 400 rupees daily. And this 400 is comfortable living for my family. Suppose this is enough for my family. Now suppose this per hour labor charge increased from 50 to 100. Then probably I am working because of my health condition. I am working only 4 hours and I am earning 400. Because as I said, it is an exceptional case. You are not in a normal situation here. If it is suppose 200 rupee per hour, you might be working only 2 hours to earn 400. In that case, what is happening? There is much more relax in your life because of your physical condition or health condition and so on. So ultimately, in this case also, what is happening? When price is more and more of your labor service, price of your labor service is more and more, you are supplying less and less of your, services to market or to that labor market maybe, or to that company. This is happening. Okay. So in this case, 8 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours in that way. But price is increasing. But when price is decreased, you might be working more hours because anyhow you need 400 rupees. daily. So this is also an exception to the law of demand. So what is happening here? In this case, supply curve is negatively slope. Demand is also negatively slope. Suppose price increase from P3 to P4. Suppose price increase to P4. At P4, supply will be represented by supply curve. Supply is here. Demand will be represented by here. See, in market, what is happening when price increase, demand decrease, but supply also decrease. Supply decrease more. So what is happening? There is a shortage of supply in market. Demand is more than supply. So when demand is more than supply, what will happen? Shortage of supply in market, price will go up further. Price becomes suppose P5. At P5, supply is this much, demand is this much. Means demand supply gap is much higher at P5. Further it will go up. In that way, once your equilibrium position is disturbed, it is very difficult to come back to your original equilibrium position. Once equilibrium position is disturbed, it is very difficult to come back to your original equilibrium position. Because of that, it is called unstable equilibrium under static condition. Equilibrium is unstable here. Unstable equilibrium under static condition. Very quickly this is happening, but this is an exceptional case, but it may happen also. Third one is third one is your neutral equilibrium. Okay. Third one is your neutral equilibrium. So what is happening in neutral equilibrium? Say third one is neutral equilibrium. The equilibrium under, that is under static condition as usual. It is happening. So when you will get neutral equilibrium, means for a portion of price or quantity, your equilibrium becoming neutral. Means for a range of price in this diagram, they are coinciding, they are overlapping, you can say. Here, suppose this is your demand curve, this is your supply curve. In this particular range of price, in this diagram, in this particular range of price, although price may change, suppose P1, this is P3, although price may change, but there is no change in equilibrium quantity. It remains as it is Q1 only. In this particular range, although price may increase or decrease, but there is no change in equilibrium quantity. Okay, there is no change in equilibrium quantity, and because of that, it is called your neutral equilibrium. In that particular range, there is no change in equilibrium quantity, so it is called neutral equilibrium. You can draw it in other way also. Draw it in other way means for a range of quantity also it may happen. Just rotate that diagram by 90 degree for a range of say like this. Demand curve is like this, and supply curve is like this. In this particular range, this is overlapping, and after that, this is suppose supply curve. So in this range of quantity, although say Q1 or Q3 and so, suppose equilibrium quantity may change, but there is no change in equilibrium price. There is no change in equilibrium price. Equilibrium price remains same. Because of that, it is called neutral equilibrium. Okay, clear? Now I am moving on to your equilibrium under dynamic condition. Equilibrium under dynamic condition. Here, this equilibrium under dynamic condition, mostly we discuss it with the help of Cobb-Wave theorem. Cobb-Wave theorem. We take the help of Cobb-Wave. Just like a Cobb-Wave, here you will find that diagram here. But before going to discuss your Cobb-Wave theorem or equilibrium under Cobb-Wave theorem, let me tell you certain things, because here also ultimately you will get three different kind of equilibrium. First one is a stable equilibrium. Under your dynamic condition. So and so, I am going to discuss one by one, do not worry. But before that, let me tell you certain things. I believe you can hear me as well as you can see the word file without any difficulties.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let me go through that discussion, but let me log the meeting room, because it is almost 40 minutes over. Now, what is happening here? Suppose I am coming back to our original discussion. I'm coming back to our original discussion means I'm coming back to that particular example where I said, suppose what I was discussing in different lecture, like tomato, suppose you went to market to purchase, suppose think about a situation, suppose from demand and supply point of view. Suppose you are a consumer, you went to market to purchase a kg of tomato, hypothetically, when you with 50 rupee in your hand, you need much more tomato, obviously, but right now you have limited purchasing power. So you went to market to purchase a kg of tomato by paying, say, 50 rupee, suppose. But when you reach market, you find that tomato price is 100 rupee, hypothetically. You may say also that why it is 100 rupee or something like that, but it may happen that hypothetically that you are interested to purchase this tomato, and how much will you purchase when tomato price is 100 rupee? Pardon?
Sir, half kg.
Okay, half kg. Someone may purchase half kg, someone may purchase even reduced amount also, and so and so. Okay, someone may say that no, 100 rupees is too much, but I still need some tomato, maybe 250 gram of tomato only you purchase. You decide your, you have much more requirement. Many of you might be purchasing half kg, but some of you even may purchase even 250 gram also or 300 gram also, and so and so. It may happen. This is one possibility, that at a higher price you purchase less. Okay, but this is one part. But second part is from supplier's point of view. I brought maybe 100 kg of tomato to sell into market. All are hypothetical value. 100 kg of tomato to sell into that market. But when I reach market, I found that tomato price is no more 50 rupee, it is 100 rupee today. Might be because of different factors. Okay, tomato prices 100 rupees. What will I do?
Try to supply.
You will try to supply, but you see, suppose your house is say 20 or 30 kilometers away from the market. You need to go to field to harvest, clean, then again bring it up. By that time, market will be over. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
So what will you do? Do not think too much. It is maybe 5-6 standard question. Maybe. What will you do? Simple answer is you will sold out your 100 kg of tomato at 100 rupee, and you are with a happy mind. You will go back to your house or home. Is it not, or you have some other option?
Yes, sir.
That you will do it, but the issue is your story is not ending here. Why? In case of supply, what you will do is, as today you tested 100 rupee per kg, and I assume that in your field you have tomato. Immediately next day you will target to bring more tomato, because I assume that your cost of production and other things are no change, only market price change. 100 rupees is too much, but other way also, even if tomato price increase, you will try to next day you will try to bring more tomato into market. That may be your tomato, that may be from other farmers, nearby farmers tomato. You are just collecting more to sell it in market at higher price. Might be you are giving them same price, but you are selling it at much higher price if opportunity comes. So next day you will try to supply more. How much is different issue, but you will try to supply more because market price is more. So in case of supply, it is positively related, means what? At higher price, you try to supply more. That usually you try. Okay. So in this case, what difference you observe between demand and supply? The difference here you are observing that in case of demand, your decision is spontaneous, means on the spot decision. Price is more, you are purchasing less immediately. But in case of supply, what is happening? It is a lag function of price. Supply is a lag function of price, means today's supply is decided by yesterday's price, or today's price will decide how much quantity you are going to supply tomorrow. If price is more, you are bringing more tomato. If price is less, you are supplying less tomato tomorrow. That you are trying to do it. Means indirectly what I say, supply is a lag function of price. Today's supply is actually decided by yesterday's price. That concept will be applied here in case of your equilibrium under dynamic condition. Now it is discussed with the help of Fabio theorem. Now here, let's see. Under stable equilibrium under static condition, when we got it, when slope of demand curve is less than slope of supply curve. Suppose demand curve is like this and supply curve is like this. When slope of demand curve is less than slope of supply curve, the system is convergent and equilibrium is stable. Suppose initially your equilibrium price is here, suppose is P3, suppose P3, and equilibrium quantity is here Q3. Now today, because of some factor, price went up. Price went up to say P6. Price went up to P6 because of some factor today in market. At today means suppose at time period T. Today, price went up to in market. So when price went up, immediately quantity demanded will be represented by demand curve. So quantity demanded will be reduced to Q1. Today it happened. Say suppose What happened today because of some strike or some problem arise in market, so sufficient quantity of a product could not be supplied into that market, so might be supply was less, because of that immediately price went up. It happened today. Okay, so when price went up, as long as price will be at P6, demand will be OQ1, that you know it. As long as market price is P6, demand is OQ1, that you know. So today demand came down to OQ1 at time period T today. So somehow market was managed today because of some agitation or strike, or maybe transport strike or something like that, or maybe bond or something like that. But what will happen tomorrow? You are a supplier. Although it was supplied less, or less number of suppliers supplied maybe less quantity today, but they tested a higher price today. P6 is much higher than P3, original equilibrium price. P6 is much higher. So what you will do tomorrow, means next day. Let me bring a new, maybe. Tomorrow means at T+1 time period. Tomorrow, price is at P6, so you will try to supply more. Supply will be represented by supply curve. Tomorrow in market, you will try to supply this much amount. Suppose this is Q6. Tomorrow in market means T+1 time period. In market, you supplied OQ6 quantity of that product. But price is P6. So even tomorrow, initially, demand will be only OQ1. Tomorrow, demand will be only OQ1 because price is P6. As long as price is P6, demand is OQ1. So tomorrow in market, what will happen? A situation will arise. Initially, a situation will arise that demand is OQ1, supply is OQ6. Because supply will be represented by supply curve. So at T+1 time period, in market, what will happen? Supply is OQ6, demand is OQ1. So this Q1, Q6, this portion will be what? This portion will be surplus supply in market. There will be a surplus supply in market. This Q1, Q6 is the surplus supply, this portion. When surplus supply will be there in market, immediately what will happen in market? Immediately means same time period, T+1 time period. When surplus supply is there, unsold stock is there in market, product is suppose perishable. It may be milk, it may be some leafy vegetable, anything. Behind the scene, I assume that kind of situation, like you cannot store it for long. You go to our fresh vegetable market, you will observe also such kind of situation, price fluctuation. So when surplus supply is there in market, what will happen immediately? You tell me, are you understanding or not?
Yes, sir.
Price will come down. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Now will price come down to 0?
No, sir.
How much? Price will reduce.
Sir, till Q6 where it is cutting demand.
Okay. So good. The price will come down here because you cannot say that price will come down to 0 because you are not doing a social service. You are not freely distributing your product to consumer. That you are not doing. So price will ultimately going to come down to, suppose here. Suppose this is suppose P1. So in market, what happened? Initially surplus supply was there. As unsold stock is there, immediately price coming down to P1. When price decrease, your demand decision related to decrease in price is spontaneous on the spot. When price decrease, immediately demand increase. Demand will be increased up to Q6 immediately. So there will not be any unsold stock. Price decrease immediately at T+1 time period, immediately demand went up to OQ6. Supply is also OQ6. So whatever was brought into that market, everything is sold out. But your story is not ending here. Because now you will move on to next day. What will happen next day? T+2 time period. Now your comparison will be prices now here at P1, which is even less than original equilibrium price, P3. P1 is less than P3. Now, when this price is very low, as a supplier, it is not attractive. P1 is not attractive to me. So next day, although today I brought it just to avoid wastage, I sold out at P1. But tomorrow means next day means T+2 time period, I will reduce my supply. Supply will be represented by supply curve. So at T+2 time period, my supply will come down to Q2. So at T+2 time period, what will happen in market? Supply is only Q2, OQ2. Demand is OQ6 because price is P1. Demand is OQ6. Supply is OQ2. There is shortage of supply in market. This portion will represent shortage of supply. Q2, Q6 is shortage of supply. When shortage of supply will be there, scarcity of a product is there in a market. What will happen? Immediately price will go up. Immediately price will go up. And that price represented by suppose, okay, let me check whether this price went up to here, and that is represented by suppose here P5. Immediately T+2 time period only, same time period, T+2 time period. This is happening. Okay. Same time period, immediately when shortage of supply is there in market, immediately price went up to P5. When price went up, immediately demand come down to Q2. Supply is also Q2, demand is also Q2. So whatever was product was there, that is sold out. Because price increase, it is a mechanism actually. When price increase, some of that existing consumer will purchase less quantity and some of that consumer will totally stop purchasing that one because they cannot afford because of the demand decrease. But your story is not ending here because again you have to move to your next day. Next day means T+3 time period. Next day. In that way it will go on. Next day P5 is more attractive because it is higher than original equilibrium price of P3. P5 is higher than P3. So as a supplier, you will try to supply more. And that will be represented by supply curve. Just like T1, it will be repeated. On next day, T+3 time period, what is happening? Demand is OQ2. Demand will be represented by demand curve. Demand is OQ2. Supply is, say, supply is, this one, suppose OQ5. OQ5. Demand is OQ2, supply is OQ5. Surplus supply. Immediately means in T+3 time period, immediately price will again come down. Price is coming down now to P2. It's a little bit lower than this one. This is your P2. Immediately price come down. So whatever is in that way, if you look at your movement, originally you see your movement, maybe visible, I believe it will be. No. Maybe this one. See your movement. Originally you move in this way. You move in this way. in that way. Then you move in this way. So you see, you are converging towards origin. Initially, equilibrium was disturbed, but after some time, means after a few periods, t plus 1, t plus 2, t plus 3, t plus 4, t plus 5, in that way it will go on. Gradually, you are again going back to your original indifference, original equilibrium position. Because of that, although initially equilibrium may be disturbed, after some time again you are going back to your original equilibrium position. Because of that, it is called stable equilibrium under dynamic conditions. And you see here, just like a cobweb, you are just moving towards origin, because market forces means demand and supply are taking care in such a way that you are going back to your original equilibrium position. You are going back to your original equilibrium position. Okay. Clear?
Yes.
Now, just reverse what is happening. Let me discuss the unstable equilibrium, because in case of unstable equilibrium, under dynamic condition. Okay. So what is happening here? When slope of demand curve is slope of demand curve is more than slope of supply curve. Suppose this is your demand curve, this is your supply curve. Okay, original equilibrium position is same way, you just proceed. When slope of demand curve is more than slope of supply curve, suppose this is your P3, this is your or this is suppose P5, suppose anything, you can P5, this is Q5, original equilibrium position. Now here, suppose initially price increase from P5 to P6, price increase at time period T. So same thing happened here, because of some factor influence that on that day, that time period T, today sufficient supply was not there in market. Immediately there was scarcity in market, price went up to P6. So immediately demand decreased. So demand is now at suppose Q4, okay, at P6. But next day, as a supplier, this P6 is more attractive to you, will try to supply more next day, because you need some processing time. In case of tomato, I give that example that suppose you need to go back to your house and bring it more tomato. You cannot store also, might be tomato is in your field. You need to go to your house, harvest tomato, then clean it, or might be grading also. You might be separating maybe good quality tomato from bad quality. Depending upon size also, you might be separating for different price. So many, it requires some time. Even you are a pen producing company, you are producing pen. Even to produce that pen, you might be requiring some time to process. So that is happening here. So in that case, so in that case, it may happen that your to process a pen, you need might be 1 day time at least, and you are producing it in that way. So what happened here, at T+1 time period, you try to supply more after a time lag only. So here you move in up to, suppose your supply is suppose Q6, okay. But when price supply is on that day, what is happening? Your demand is OQ4 at P6, demand is OQ4, supply is OQ6. There is surplus supply. So immediately at P plus 1 time period itself, demand is coming down here. Sorry, price is coming down up to this point. Suppose P4, price is coming down. The moment price immediately come down to P4, immediately demand went up to Q6, supply is also Q6, everything is sold out. But as I said earlier, this demand is not attractive, this price is not attractive to supplier because P4 is much lower than P5. So next day means at P plus 2 time period, next day, the supplier reduce their supply to OQ3. The moment they reduce it and demand is OQ6 because price is P4, demand is OQ6, supply is OQ3, immediately, same day, it happened that your price of that product went up here, up to P7, suppose. Immediately at T plus 2 time period, immediately. As price went up, demand decreased. So now demand is also OQ3, supply is also OQ3. But as P7 is much more attractive, much higher than P5, it is much more attractive, supplier will try to supply more of that particular product next day. Next day means T plus 3 time period. They will try to supply. Next day, they will try to supply up to even Q7 here, T plus 3 time period. So in that way, if you look at your, say your movement, if you look at your movement, initially in this way, you move it, in this way, you move. You see your movement. You are diverging from origin. So when slope of demand curve is more than slope of supply curve, system is divergent and equilibrium is unstable. Means once equilibrium is disturbed, it is very difficult to come back to your original equilibrium position. There may be short stability somewhere, but you are not coming back again to original equilibrium position. Because of that, it is called unstable equilibrium under dynamic condition. And the third one is,
that slope condition.
Pardon?
This divergence.
Pardon?
Sir, you said that slope of one, if slope of one is greater than the other, then it will diverge.
Slope of demand curve, not slope of one. Be careful. Slope of demand curve, when slope of demand curve is less than, when slope of demand curve is more than slope of supply curve, the system is divergent and equilibrium is unstable. Be specific, otherwise you will be in trouble. So what is your question?
Yes, sir, that one I was asking.
Okay.
That slope of demand is greater than slope of supply line.
You see the diagram also. From diagram also it becomes clear. The slope of demand curve is much higher than slope of supply. And the third one is your oscillating or undamped oscillating equilibrium. In certain books, you may find your undamped oscillating also. Okay. Or your undamped oscillating. Undamped oscillating equilibrium. Okay. Under dynamic. Under dynamic condition. So what is happening here? When slope of demand curve is equal to slope of supply curve. When slope of demand curve is equal to slope of supply curve. Suppose then Suppose because of some factor your price change to here. Suppose. Then your, as their slope is same or similar, it will oscillate around your original equilibrium position. Neither it is going coming back to your original equilibrium position, nor it is going away. So it will be undamped oscillating equilibrium or simply oscillating equilibrium. It will oscillate around your original equilibrium position. So this is called undamped oscillating equilibrium or oscillating equilibrium under dynamic condition. Okay. But if we look at this slope, or if we not slope, if we look at this demand or whole discussion, whatever till now. Now here slope play a very important role. Indirectly, slope of demand curve or slope of supply curve. Indirectly, what I am telling you, we were not actually getting a very good information from our simple discussion of demand and supply or even market equilibrium. Why? Because from here, what you are getting is simple information. You are getting it that when slope is, when your price is more, demand will decrease. When in normal commodities, I'm talking about normal case. When price is more, demand is less. When price is less, demand is more. Simple demand is talking about. And in case of supply, when price is more, you will try to supply more. When price is less, you will try to supply less. That is, even without doing any research also, I can tell it for normal commodities, without doing any research. But here you observe slope play a very important role. What is actually this slope? Slope is actually talking about how sensitive your product with respect to demand or supply. Because I am giving you an example here. Suppose you are doing a business. So your basic motive is profit maximization, for profit. Suppose you are selling a particular product at 5 rupee, market price. Market price or PX of the commodity is 5 rupee. And cost is, suppose, cost of production is suppose 3 rupee. So per unit, you are making a profit of 2 rupee per unit. You are selling 1000 units of this particular product. You are getting ultimately 2000 is your net profit or actual profit. You are getting it. 2000 is your total profit. Okay, profit is 2000. Okay, 1000 into 2, 2000. Suppose what you did to maximize your profit, now what you did, you increase price of your product. All other things are at certain level, you increase price from 5 to 6 rupee. When you increase price from 5 to 6 rupee, per unit profit is now 3 rupee. This will result per unit profit increase to 3 rupee, because I assume that cost of production is still 3 rupee. So 6 minus 3 per unit 3. But when price increase, demand decrease. Earlier, suppose you were selling 1000 units. Now you are in a position to sell only 600 units. So 600 into 3, 1800. So profit, in this case, profit is 1800 rupee. Earlier, profit was 2000. So profit in this case decrease. Instead of increasing your total profit, which I hope that if I increase price of my product, my total profit will go up. You hope in that way, but in reality, you realize that you got only 1800 rupee as profit. Earlier, you used to get 2000 rupee. Instead of increasing profit, your profit may decrease. This is one possibility. Or sometime what is happening, when you make it 6 rupee, you are making a profit of 3 rupee, but your demand decrease, but demand may be not 600, demand may be 900. That is your possibility, that earlier it was 1000, price increase, demand decrease to 900. That is also possible. The moment it is 900 and here it is 3, you will get ultimately total profit 2700. In this case, profit was earlier 2000, now profit is 2700. This is another possibility. So basically, here the big role it plays when you increase or decrease price, how your demand resultant change in demand is taking place. Indirectly, how sensitive demand for your product with respect to price, that is very, very important because you need to quantify. As a businessman, you need to know, you are very, very interested to know how sensitive demand for my product with respect to change in price. Here comes that elasticity concept. Here comes the concept of elasticity. This elasticity, again, with this elasticity basically talks about sensitiveness or responsiveness. Okay. Elasticity, it may be elasticity of demand and supply, both we discuss it. So it basically talks about how sensitive your product is with respect to change in any of its parameter. It may be how sensitive demand for a product, maybe, or supply of a product with respect to change in some of its parameter that we are just measuring. But you remember, initially we will discuss under this one. Initially, we will talk about elasticity. We will discuss about elasticity of demand. Supply we will discuss later on. Okay. But you remember, under elasticity of demand, there are different parameters. You remember already in dynamic demand function also we discuss it. One of the very important parameter in case of demand is price of the product. So first we will talk about price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand. First we will talk about price elasticity of demand. That we are going to discuss. So when we talked about price elasticity of demand, basically we are measuring how sensitive demand for my product with respect to change in price of the commodity. With respect to price, how sensitive demand for my product, that we are just measuring. We are just measuring how sensitive demand for my product with respect to change in price. That is called your price elasticity of demand. Okay. So how we express it? We can express price elasticity of demand as percentage or proportionate. Sometime in certain books you may find proportionate change, okay, or percentage change. I am writing it short. You write it in word better to make it complete. Percentage change in quantity demanded. I am writing it in short, quantity demanded for a commodity divided by percentage change in price of the same commodity or price of the commodity. Means with respect to change in price, I am just measuring it, how sensitive change in demand. How sensitive change in demand. That we are just measuring under price elasticity. Okay. Or in other way, we can express it like del Q. Think about this demand curve. Because right now we are discussing price elasticity of demand. Suppose this is point A and this is point B. Suppose this is P1, Q1. And here suppose it is Q2. This is suppose P not suppose, or P2 also you can use it. Or P not, whatever. Suppose your demand function is suppose M and N. M and N. Mn is your demand line, suppose. So here you are interested to measure when you move from A to B, you are interested to measure your price elasticity of demand. So del Q by Q, percentage change or proportionate change divided by del P by P. Okay. So in this case, Q and P represents your original price or original quantity. Suppose if you are thinking about your movement from A to B, from A to B you are measuring elasticity, then your P it will be P1 Q1 because corresponding value is P1 original price and original quantity is Q1. Or in other way, here you can express it like del Q by del P into P by Q in that way. But the major problem, whatever discussing here, that elasticity EP, this is called your arc elasticity. This is called arc elasticity. Because here, when your change in price, when you are measuring elasticity for a considerable change in price, between A and B, there is a good change in price. You are measuring elasticity, that is called arc elasticity. And this kind of elasticity measurement is having certain problem, like which way you will consider, which one is you will consider as base price or base quantity. Although I said P1, Q1 maybe if you consider A to B. But if someone measure from B to A, P0 and Q2 will be your base price and base quantity. To overcome this one, what they do is, sometimes they are considering say P1 plus P0 divided by 2. Instead of directly considering P, they are considering average value divided by, similarly Q1 plus Q2 divided by 2 in this diagram. Instead of directly considering this one, these two, they are considering this as average value. That may be one solution, maybe. So in certain books, you may find it in that way. Some solution you may find it. But, or some other problems are also there. When you measure elasticity from A to B, you will get some value. But when you measure elasticity from B to A, you will get another value. This is some technical problem you may face it here. Because of that, but your objective is what? Because your objective is to measure how sensitive your product with respect to change in price. That is your ultimate objective. So if that is your ultimate objective, why not you go for measuring point elasticity of demand to avoid point elasticity, which we usually discuss more emphasis in measuring point elasticity, because such kind of problem you will not face it in case of point elasticity. Suppose this is your MN, you are measuring elasticity at point A. Okay. So here, if you measure point elasticity, when you are measuring elasticity for a very minute change in price, close to zero, not exactly zero, but close to zero, then also you are getting that sensitivity measurement here with respect to price. Then also it is happening. So in that case, elasticity you are expressing as first order derivative of your demand curve with respect to price and quantity. Here you are getting only one single price and single quantity, no two prices. So you are going for first order derivative of this one and multiplying it with price. Okay. But in certain books, you may find that there is people are using a negative sign also, extra negative sign, because when you measure elasticity at a particular point, if I ask you that measure elasticity at a particular point, then ultimately as demand curve is negatively slope, this first order derivative, suppose your demand curve is suppose Q equal to A minus BPX, QX equal to A minus BPX. It may be this pattern also. Then elasticity will be how much? Minus B into PX by QX. That will be your elasticity. in case of point elasticity. If equation is Qx equal to A, Px to the power minus B, what will be the elasticity value using this one? You calculate and tell me quickly within a minute or few seconds, maybe 2-3 seconds. You should not take more. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So can you calculate it? For a power function, what will be the elasticity value?
The minus AB Px to the power minus B minus 1.
Pardon? Minus B into? What about this other student? The students come down to 89 only from more than 100. I didn't even. Yeah, pardon, please.
The minus AB Px to the power minus B minus 1 into Px by Qx.
After that, that is the first step. But after that,
So that is point elasticity. Px by Qx we have to multiply.
no, that I understand. But ultimately, here you will get the value is minus B. Minus B will be the elasticity in this case, in a power function. Because of that, this power function in different kind of research is very, very popular. Elasticity value is minus B.
By Px by Qx will become minus B.
Pardon?
After multiplying it by Px by Qx, it will come minus B.
See, first order derivative is what? First order derivative means dq by dp into p by q. In this case, you will get it is equal to, in this case, you will get it here minus b a p to the power px, or p you can also write minus b a p to the power px minus b minus 1 into p by q equal to minus b a px to the power p, you are multiplying it px and qx, then you are multiplying it, it will be simply minus b divided by qx. This minus 1 is over because of multiplication. Now what is this portion? This portion is nothing but qx. You know it already. So it is minus b qx divided by qx. Ultimately you will get minus b. So because of that, I mentioned that elasticity here is minus b. Straight away, it is the power. You are getting it as elasticity. Because of that, you need not go to do a one more step calculation. Because of that, it is very, very popular. This here comes your Cobb-Douglas functional form, production function. In production, we will discuss it about its property and so and so. Okay, it may be. Now, another way of finding out elasticity, this is the one most popular one, but in certain books you may find an extra negative sign also. The meaning of this extra negative sign is, in certain books you may find, is that as there will be a negative value, but your intention is to find out only how sensitive your product with respect to change in price, in this case point elasticity with respect to price, or so you will get ultimately a negative sign, negative value, like here minus b, whatever may be the value minus, or here minus b into, ultimately it is a negative value. So finally you may find that, oh, elasticity is a negative value, you are making it a positive value. Some books you may find this one. But usually, most of these cases, you can do it as usual or as usual calculation, and later on you can express it also. Even if you express it in a negative way, no problem. This is one. Now, another way of measuring elasticity may be, do not ideal, but I am just showing you. Same diagram, I'm just drawing it. Okay. Maybe, let's see in this way. Suppose this is your MN, suppose MN is the demand line, suppose Q or QX, and this side is PX as usual. Suppose here is that point, suppose point A is that middle of that line, suppose at point A, you are interested to measure elasticity. So at measuring this elasticity here, what you can do is, at this point, you are drawing a perpendicular maybe here. Suppose this is your B, and here suppose it is suppose C. So at point A, elasticity is dq by dp into p by q. So in this case, what you will get it? At point A, elasticity will be AB divided by Bn. So it will be AB divided by Bn. At point A, for this diagram, AB divided by Bn, that will give you dq by dp into, at point A, what is the value of P? P is that y-axis, price. P represents price. At point A, price is AB. P by Q. I made probably a mistake here. So at this particular point, I made just a reverse here. I made a reverse here. Here, at this point A, this elasticity is Bn divided by AB. Bn divided by AB. Bn divided by AB will represent dq by dp. And what will be that P by Q? P is AB. This is that AB. And Q is OB. Q is OB. So ultimately, you are getting here AB and AB is cancelled. So you are getting Bn by OB. Bn by OB. Now you are considering this triangle also here. Instead of OB, you are writing CA. So you are writing Bn by CA. Now you consider these two triangles, MAC and ANB. These two triangles. When you are getting these two triangles, you can very easily write, instead of Bn by Ca, considering these two triangles, you can write An by Ma. You can write An by Ma. You can very easily write here. An by Ma. What is An? An is at a particular point, elasticity will be, then An represents lower segment. Divided by upper segment. Divided by upper segment. So elasticity at a particular point will be equal to lower segment value divided by upper segment value. So if this A is middle of that line Mn, elasticity value will be how much? 1. Lower segment and upper segment is same. Clear or not? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. When it is 1, it is called unitary elastic. When it is 1, it is called your unitary elastic. Unitary elastic. Means if I change the price of my product by 1%, the resultant change in demand will be also 1%. Means if I increase my price by 1%, demand will decrease by 1%. Meaning is like that. If the product is on x-axis, point N, what will be the elasticity value?
0.
0. Once it is 0, it is called perfectly inelastic. Perfectly inelastic. Perfectly inelastic means although price may change, there is no change in demand. So ultimately, you will get actually, okay, I'm going to draw that one. So in between, your elasticity value will be less than 1. It is called relatively inelastic. Relatively inelastic. It is perfectly inelastic. Unitary elastic, it is relatively inelastic. At particular point M, what will be that elasticity value? Infinity or undefined. In certain books, you may find that it is undefined. It is called perfectly elastic. For a small change in price, there will be infinite change in quantity demanded. And here, elasticity value is more than 1, relatively elastic. For 1% change in price, resultant change in demand will be more than 1%. It may be 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, more than 1. Okay. But if you see the case of perfectly inelastic, will you not get a curve something like this or perpendicular line? Here, what will be that elasticity value? P and Q, elasticity value. Here, elasticity will be equal to 0. Means for a change in price, there is no change in quantity demanded. Still, it is Q1. For elasticity of infinity, it will be a horizontal line. Okay. For unitary elastic, it may be a line something like that. It's not very accurate, but close to, it is 1, close to 1. Okay. It is unitary elastic. In that way, you may get different information. Okay. And suppose it is a curve. You need to measure elasticity at point A. How will you do it? You will simply draw a perpendicular here. Tangent. You will simply draw a tangent here. You are drawing a tangent MN, suppose, on point A. And then, just like any straight line, you are measuring that elasticity value. Very easily you can do it. Okay. So in that way, you can go on discussing elasticity. Definitely we will discuss it. We can discuss about more numerical problem also. We can discuss, but in the meantime, my suggestion is that you go through some books also to see simple numerics about how to calculate that. But do not confuse. Always we use first order derivative, or for measuring elasticity, always we do not follow this kind of lower segment or upper segment, because you will not get a accurate value and you will be in trouble. Always follow this kind of quick measurement. This kind of quick measurement of elasticity value, it is always better to follow. Quickly you can calculate it out. Go for simply first order derivation and calculate it out, that elasticity value. And very easily you can do it. Okay. See, in our example, suppose, in our example earlier, suppose, or something, suppose, if I ask you, say, suppose your demand is, suppose demand line is Q equal to, say, 100 minus 5P, suppose, minus 5P, and supply is, suppose, QD, I'm writing it, and QS, suppose, equal to, suppose, your 0.5 or sorry, anyway, you need not need the supply information, but suppose I am asking you that when price is 10, at price 10, you need to calculate elasticity value, EP. Then what will you do? You will go for first order derivative dq by dp into p by q is equal to what? Minus 5 into p by q. Okay? P by q. But what I said, measure elasticity at price 10. So then it will be minus 5 into P is 10. At price 10, I ask you to measure elasticity. And when it is at 10, at P equal to 10, Q equal to 10 into 50, 50, 100 minus 50, 50. So this is your 50, you are getting it. So ultimately, you are getting an elasticity value minus 1. Yeah. Means it is unitary elastic in that example. Okay, you are getting an elasticity value minus 1. Means what happens if price increase by 1%, demand will decrease by 1%. Simple case. And after calculating this one, if you feel that no, I will make elasticity value as a positive way, I will express, then you can make as it is a, it may be a, maybe express in positive way. If you feel otherwise, if you leave it as it is, that is also okay for me. Okay. Any quick question from your side? Some other things are there. It will take time, some time, but oh, I made a mistake. I saved it. Okay, let me save this one. Just a minute. Anyway, if you have any question, quickly you can ask me. Any quick question from anyone? Any quick question from anyone? Let me stop the recording.